Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And yes, it actually is slightly warm. I don't even have a coat. That's how warm it is. And I know that I've said this before, but I don't plan to stay out for too long today. So even if it does get cold, I will be fine. I hope, anyway. At least I will not get the worst of it, let's say. That's mainly because, I've got my first experience as a DM. Well, not my second experience as a DM tonight, but my first experience as a DM for, I guess, the Occulta multiverse, I guess? Well, it's all the D&D multiverse, if you know the official rules of it. They say that everything in D&D is a multiverse, officially speaking anyway. So yeah, been preparing for that, I suppose. Been even more of a hobbit than I normally have. And yes, you're probably wondering why on earth did I take on the role of DM right around the time where it's less than a month left before the what number are we on now? 7th anniversary of the Mutant Girl. Yeah, well, reason is because there was again scheduling with the main group becoming much more difficult on account of how many of us there actually are, and also that there was only one remaining one-shot idea. We were going to potentially start a new secondary campaign. We have an idea for that, but that's going to take a little bit more time in the proverbial oven before that's able to take shape, let's say. So, yeah, with that in mind, I guess it, the time fell to me because, it was half term anyway, and also because sorry, just again, letting people past. Biggest dog on Walking Wednesday so far that I've seen, I think, or at least a strong contender. Can't make that claim after 352 episodes, can I? At least not without going back and checking, which I don't intend to. Speaking of checking, I'm going to make sure this path does go on a much further downhill than I was expecting. Again, I want to be able to get back, and I want to be able to talk as well. Because, while scaling up hills is really no problem, it's doing so while talking ends up with my mouth being drier than it already is. So, yeah, not ideal. The person ahead of me is descending significantly, so I'm going to turn around. Alright then. What was I saying before? Oh yes, so yeah, Aiden has been encouraging me, even though he already saw me DM once. He wanted me to, be able to run a session, and so again, because I had an opening, I guess at least in my work-related schedule. I thought, yeah, let's do this. Let's come up with something. So I'm still setting that up because we only decided that like a couple of days ago. So I can't promise for anyone who plans to watch that tonight on the Butter Bunch, the aiming start time being 3 EST. But we will. Well, actually, now I say that I was like verbally clarified. I probably should actually set time. I normally say 3:30. Probably 3:30 EST, depending on what we say in the actual server. Anyway. With that, I guess, for anyone, I can't exactly guarantee it's going to be a masterpiece or anything, but it's going to be substantial, let's say. I have also, said in the past that writing mysteries has always been, a weakness of mine that I've tried to train myself up, and Mutant Girl Season 2 being the best execution of that idea that I was able to convey, and that was more of a case of, you know, twist reveal and how the person did it rather than what exactly they did. No, sorry, rather than who did it is what I meant to say. You know, it is what exactly they did. So yeah, it might veer in that direction. I guess that's probably more of the Columbo approach, which is interesting because I've only seen a few like Columbo clips online rather than the whole series, but I do know that the idea behind that is that they reveal, you know, who the culprit is immediately, and you know, it's all about how exactly Columbo goes and catches them, rather than, I guess, the mystery from them. Maybe it's because, like, from their perspective, it's all about like how they get fumbled and how these plans get unraveled, and it's an exercise in dramatic irony. I guess, come to think of like the clips that I've seen, you know, it's all the curious ways in which they give themselves away is always interesting to behold, rather than like, you know, figuring out like all the clues from what we know to be the answer. It's a case of, oh, I wouldn't have thought to have done it that way or something. Although then again, it is a show from like the 70s, I think, so a lot of the methods wouldn't necessarily work anymore. Like, for example, having to identify a specific analog camera that took a photo that was then revealed in reverse to make it seem like the time of the murder didn't happen, and invalidating the person's alibi. You know, that wouldn't work anymore, but, you know, that's also something that happens in a lot of Agatha Christie stories. Because I remember specifically during it was one of the labors of Hercules, and yes, they do say Hercules because the main character's name is Hercule, so that's the whole part of it. During that, it was the capture of Cerberus, I think, and I've only seen this once, by the way, but the way that someone gives away that they were in disguise was specifically because of the way they put their dressing gown on. It was a lady's dressing gown, but it was a man who had worn it at the time. And the way that it was discovered was because, of course, you know, ladies will tie their dressing gowns in. There's one from one like loop over the other, to the knot is facing the opposite direction to what a gentleman would do. Of course, naturally. So, you know, there's a bit of that. It's like, okay. But yeah, obviously, when it was written, I guess that would have been that would have been a bit more fitting. Although I do wonder in that instance how that was conveyed verbally, or if by that point, because it's a late book in the Poirot series, I wonder if by that point people were so used to the ideas of you know, why is this being like focused on, that if the dressing gown had been specified in that way, someone would have immediately clocked onto it and been like, why is this being properly portrayed? I mean, of course, it's a lady. Of course they were tied that way. Unless. So, oh wait, no, it's the other way around. It's like, oh, well, that's a well way for a lady to tie her dressing gown. Unless. That'd be more what it was. I don't know. It's, but yeah, I guess it's interesting that I consume more of the Agatha Christie style of you know, crime dramas, I suppose, is the, you know, much more all-encompassing idea, because they're not all murders. But yet my approach as a writer, and I guess, you know, possibly as a DM, we'll see what happens in the next 4 hours. Is definitely more in line with the Columbo approach that I have had limited exposure to. I don't know. I guess that's something that's kind of instinctual. There is a series that I started writing around 10 years ago, I think, because that was when I was, you know, like first getting into Los Futbolísimos, which is a series of books all about this football team that solves mysteries as well as playing the sport. And in the early books, their mysteries all tie into the team itself and like things to do with with football in general. Like, why are a bunch of referees falling asleep? And then like towards the middle, they sort of kind of lost their way. It's like, oh yes, we're going to cause this issue. We're going to create a heist for this particular reason or something. We're going to be responsible for what's going on. And then of course the play where it was like, ah yes, it was me. The one scene in the mystery in the first place was just me. I wanted people to solve a mystery like we did, when we were kids. And it's like, well, great, but that was one scene worth of content. Everything else was football related. That play is like the cursed child for me. I want to see it on stage just to know how they portray the sports scenes, but I also don't want to go anywhere near it story-wise. Anyway, they then picked up afterwards and they got back in their groove. There's tons of them. There's like almost like 2 that come out every year or something, so yeah. A lot of variety in there. And, I was gobbling them up like crazy. I'm slightly behind the series now, but I've got the most recent ones. But yeah, that was like around the time that was starting, so I wanted to make my own football team of mystery solvers, or at least the main character being a mystery solver, because Los Futbolísimos, they play 7-a-side, and in my experience playing football in Spain was 11-a-side, so not everyone on the team is as relevant as to everyone else because it's a much larger group, let's say. It's not a small town where everyone knows each other. Futbolísimos has a big focus on like the companionship and the main author, Roberto Santiago's memories of, the friends that he made, growing up on the pitch and everything. But yeah, when it came down to my approach, the feedback that I got was that the mystery behind like who the culprit was not as profoundly woven in as like what method they actually used. That's when I fully realized it for the first time that I wanted to I was more just like how these things came apart. It was like how who did them. And I guess that would have made the series stand out if it actually published any of them. I made another series with a slight element of mystery to it as well. And that's the book that I finished recently, that I plan to, again, still edit and publish. So, maybe it's a bit more like that one. So, there you have it. I guess I was trying to, I guess it's like a lesson of like, oh yeah, I'm trying to hold myself like this particular standard or something, but no, this is not how I tend to approach these things. There's not necessarily a hint for the players if they happen to watch this beforehand, because, obviously I'm not going to, give that away or anything, and I've also still got some stuff to set up, not just on a technical level, but also on a story level. Like I said, can't promise it's going to be exceptional, but I guess it will be uniquely me, which was the plan that Aidan had all along when he suggested, pushing me into the spotlight after unintentionally removing it from me to make a culture in the first place, because we rolled D20s to decide who would actually be the DM for the Butter Bunch campaign, and that's how it worked out. So, yeah, I guess, is that residual guilt, or is it just morbid curiosity? I suppose time will tell, and by time I mean 4 hours from now. So, as of me recording this, not as of me publishing it. So, I don't know. But yeah, reflecting on like the scheduling idea of everything. Yeah, because I am wondering about like the main campaign and how that's going about, because like the reason that there's such an opening now, or for me to do something, is because, you know, the timelines have branched out. Granted, this was because part of the content was skipped that was supposed to be done during the last session. So we weren't. I think we were supposed to wake up in our statue forms in a world that has been surprisingly modernized out of nowhere. So yeah, that's and not to mention as well, we are still somewhat, you know, tied to each other until that idea can either be resolved or not, actually. Because of course, you know, that they said that the main timeline isn't affected. At least that's what Ghosty said. Because which is a relief to me, because I was thinking to myself, well, you know, if for some reason we're able to figure out, like, oh yes, let's, you know, magically reverse this, you know, divine intervention or something, wouldn't that technically make us responsible for the complete erasure of billions of life forms, basically, and resetting them to what they were previously? Like, is that an ethically sound idea? That's something that doesn't come up in a lot of time travel stories. You know, I mean, you never heard like Marty McFly processing the idea that that the parents that he had known for all his life and his family known for all his life no longer were the same people, and the memories they had of him were of an entirely different Marty. Well, not entirely different, slightly different. You know, how must that have, you know, like, that's never addressed, because, well, first of all, it happens at the end of the movie, but, you know, even so, but yeah, that's got that, I can definitely see that, you know, dawning on him, you know, as he, you know, got older and matured after the movie ended or something. It's like, well, you know, what have Doc and I done? You know, this is heavy. So, I don't know. I just picture that and be like, oh wow, that's a realization. So I'm glad that, I guess, Ghosty gave us this fail-safe, I suppose. I am wondering, you know, how much longer that's going to continue, because I know that Ghosty said she was opening up the idea for how, for us doing, like, you know, individual adventures, or like, you know, classic adventures, like in season 1, as I said on Rick and Morty. I did express my doubts about that, because the way that we left off, you know, there are other versions of ourselves running around there, and so in theory could run into them. Our entire lives have been upended, and we're the only ones that know about it. So as far as like splitting people up, or, you know, sorting out the scheduling conflicts that we've had as a result of the other people who were accompanying us on what was supposed to be a one-off story, but has now gone on to about like 4, I think, meaning we have to, you know, incorporate the guest stars again, so to speak. Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, like it makes sense for us to be, you know, stick together, you know, despite the fact that I suppose Salvador already offered to ditch and you know, escape. Although, to be honest, like, reflecting on that now, you know, maybe him going off with the other champion to try to you know, figure something out within their, you know, within their domains would help. Maybe in the meantime, while the rest of us either try to, you know, live our lives or hang tight. And, you know, I'm gonna suggest that maybe after the session, if I remember to, and I'm not completely drained, psychologically speaking. Yeah. Because otherwise I was worried that, yeah, I mean, I think Ghosty's idea is that we're going to roam about, you know, sort of, you know, Scooby-Doo mystery gang style, going from place to place, solving mysteries that way, rather than having our headquarters and teleporting into different places. You know, I wonder if that means that one of us is going to actually, you know, learn to drive an automobile, because that's not a concept we're familiar with just yet. It would be really funny if it was Scooby doing that, actually. Anyway, that aside, yeah, I guess that's the plan. As long as we don't run into our current selves, then our modern day selves, then it should be fine. And yeah, I guess, again, my hold up was the fact that while we split up, if we want to pool our resources to, figure out what the heck is going on. And I suppose the answer to that question is... I'm gonna go this way, I think. There's a footpath down here I can probably avoid cars in. And I guess the answer to that question is, like, if it's, beyond our measure, then, maybe put our faith in the guy whose name literally means savior. I don't know. Again, I think I only just came to that conclusion now, so I was really worried beforehand, but, yeah, maybe that will work, actually. I guess. But yeah, time will tell in that regard. Tonight is all going to be about the a modern mystery with entirely new characters that may or may not have alternate versions in the timeline, or may or may not have been sacrificed to the vampires we dealt with last time. That remains to be seen. And even for me, because I've only seen 2 out of the, I think, 4 characters that are going to be present in the story. Not entirely sure. I wasn't able to, I guess, incorporate, that, like, other aspects of the characters into the story that haven't been sent to me. But then again, it is a one-shot, so, tying in backstories is not always going to come up necessarily, if they even exist at all with new characters. So I guess it's not that bad, ultimately speaking. Either way, I better, get back to it. I would go into some thoughts about this video I saw yesterday about, AFMAO and the return to long-form content and what it means, but I did say I was going to get back, and I'm running out of time, so yep, gonna, laser focus, I suppose. And then back to work tomorrow, of course. So yeah, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.